That's really good to hear. Do you get a sense at all? Are you close enough to the athletes in Canada to get a sense of their mood, their motivation at the moment?
Well, Marnie McBean is our chef de mission for the games. So and she's been fantastic, boy. For the team, she sends out a letter every month or so, and with some great inspirational words, and you can control what you can control, and I think the athletes, you can imagine yourself in this position where it's pretty unusual to have so many uncertainties in your life as an athlete. You usually can control a certain amount, more than this. But even as an administrator now, have you ever, or you're in sport as a journalist, have you ever seen a situation where you're just being hit by tsunami after tsunami after tsunami, and but the thing is, we're sort of trained to deal with that, and it's just one foot in front of the other. And I think our athletes are doing that. They've been really incredibly resilient. When we made the decision last year, it was a really tough decision because had the games gone ahead, it's like, oh gosh, and we're staying home. But our athletes, they were behind it. They totally got it. Humans first, we're all Team Canada kind of thing, and they've sort of taken that spirit. There's no question it's tough some days, and some of our athletes for a while were stuck in an apartment, with window not looking out at much, and just figuring out how they were going to stay in shape to try and compete in the Olympic Games in a year's time. But they've been incredible. I think resilient has been a word that everyone's been using these days around the world. Yeah.
That's really interesting, Tricia. One of the things it's been known that Matt Smith, FISA's CEO, is going to retire at the end of this year. I saw he announced that in a FISA circular today. Maybe you might be able to say a few words about Matt Smith and what he's done, and kind of the kind of person that rowing might be looking for to replace Matt Smith.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine World Rowing or FISA without Matt Smith. And we always joke. It was always a joke because we'd show up at a regatta and people would ask me, "Well, don't you want to stay with your husband?" at the hotel. It's like, no, we're not. We're still not getting along. So no, it's Matt's been a good friend over these years too. But I've been so impressed with how he's been able to manage this. We've had situations before, big issues before, and I always have such faith in our organization, with Matt and with Denny, and then with Jean-Christophe, in terms of how each issue is dealt with. And it's always athletes first, and it's always with integrity, and it's that's the kind of person we're going to be looking for, that leads with the athlete centered and integrity, knows the sports system, cares about the sports system, is passionate. It's not just a job, it's a passion. And Matt's been that in spades, and we've been so fortunate to have him leading our organization, and we're going to miss him for sure. Although it's going to be a gradual leaving. He's offered to stay on as the transition takes place, because there's some other senior people at FISA leaving too, and Svetla is one, as well as our marketing director, and Sheila Stevens has gone to work for the IOC, and she's been such a great leader of our development group. With Tor Nielsen leaving, Sheila took over, and so it's a big changing of the guards for sure. But Matt, can't say enough about Matt. It's just a fantastic leader. We've been so fortunate, and leading within the IF movement as well, and made a big mark there. So
that's really nice to hear, Tricia. And I guess one of the things we haven't really talked about yet is that you've got you're not just involved with Canada's Olympic Committee, the IOC, with World Rowing, but you're also involved with the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah.
Which, when I was looking at it, I thought, oh my goodness, that's an amazing sort of CV to have. How did you get involved in CAS?
Yeah, well, being a lawyer, I I got involved with arbitration in Canada first as a volunteer, helping with some of the cases that were being heard in Canada, actually setting up when that system was first set up, and it was usually team selection sort of cases. And I always thought it helped to have someone who knew what it meant to be selected to a team or not selected. And there's always going to be someone just below that line, and even though they're the nicest person in the world, that's always going to be the case. So I started out with that, and then I'd heard about ICAS, which oversees the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and I was nominated for an open position by the IOC Athletes Commission, actually, because they knew me. Charmaine Crooks on the IOC Athletes Commission knew me and knew that I'd been working in sport arbitration in Canada. So I was nominated, so I was elected. I think that was, oh gosh, it was back in around 2000, I think. And so my first meeting, actually, I got a letter that said I'd been elected to ICAS, and my first meeting was going to be in Tehran. So I had to book a flight to Iran, which in those days, that was quite surreal. I have to say, it was pretty surreal. And so I hadn't met any of the people who were on the commission with me, or the committee with me, or council rather. And so I'm on the plane, and as we're landing into Tehran, and they say all women have to cover their heads and so on. So the first meeting that I had with all my friends on the council, basically you're completely covered. Well, not our faces, but everything else. So it was an interesting experience for sure. It was funny because you go for dinner. I was, what should I wear to dinner? And it doesn't matter. I just have to put this thing on, So yeah, it was. But it was a great experience because I had done a bit of research, and I knew that they had a lot of female athletes that went in the Islamic Games, and so I asked if I could meet some of them, and so I ended up going for a tour of the Olympic site that the Shah actually built, because he was hoping to host the '84 Games. So we had a whole tour of the site, and then I went to the rowing venue, or what would have been the rowing venue is now a water ski and canoe kayak venue. And I met the junior women's kayak team. So it was fantastic the sport opens such doors, right? And so I had this great tour and met all these wonderful people, and so that was my first meeting with the International Council of Arbitration for Sport, and it's been great being there representing the interests of the athletes.
Yeah. I know how strong you've been in terms of, we talked about doping earlier in our chat, but maybe you could just outline that the Court of Arbitration for Sport was involved in lowering the sort of length of time that the Russian team should be banned from sport from 4 years to 2 years, and I know that's been received in quite a controversial way. Maybe you could just outline some of the issues around that, and I don't know whether you're able to say where you stand on it, because clearly you're part of the court itself. But let's take it from there and see where we get to.
Sure. Yeah. And I sit on the overseeing body, so we appoint the arbitrators to the list of arbitrators and that kind of thing. So, and I thought that was for me an important job to make sure that the arbitrators knew something about sport. It is a sport arbitration court, after all. I can't, as sitting in ICAS, I can't specifically talk about cases, but I have to say, I mean, in general, for me, the fight against doping, it's not over, and we have to continue to be diligent in that, and I'll certainly do all I can to make sure that fight continues, and that we fight for clean sport and clean athletes.
Yeah. And do you get any comeback from the sort of Canadian Olympic Association to you and saying, frustration around Russia not being given a longer ban for sport? Because I know World Rowing has been was particularly tough in 2016 on the Russian team.
Yeah, just I think it's always very principle based, integrity based. Rowing did a really excellent job, very principle based. decision leading into Rio, and continues to do so and follow up on the McLaren report and follow up reports. So yeah, no, for sure, we hear that in Canada. People are frustrated with anyone who's doping, and of course we're not perfect. We've had doping cases too, but yeah, it's something that we believe strongly about, and continue, and as I say, we'll continue to fight for clean sport. And it does get frustrating at times, definitely. It makes you feel a little bit like the days when we suspected what was going on, but nobody was testing, or certainly the tests weren't catching anyone. The way I look at it now, if people say, oh, there's so much doping in sport, and I say, well, it's because we're catching people that you think there's so much doping in sport. And the fact we're catching people is actually a good thing. And the fact that we can keep the samples for 10 years and continue to test is a good thing. Yeah. So, we just have to keep up the fight. It's obviously not going to go away. There'll always be people that will try and take advantage of a beautiful thing, and that's unfortunate. But we need people to stand up to it, and I'll continue to try to be one of those people.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will, Tricia. And I know how important that's been to in your life as a sports administrator. And another thing that's been really important is gender equity. And yeah. I wonder if you could talk about gender equity in rowing. We've got now the women's fours have come in, so there's an equality between the program. But I guess when you look at female coaches, there aren't an awful lot around the boat park.
Yeah, it's not just rowing. If you look at stats in all the sports, basically, maybe there'd be a few that would have more female coaches. It's been a big challenge. I have to say, it's one of the things I'm really proud of within FISA being part of is when I first started with FISA, there are very few women, and we had a women's commission that was off on its own, and we changed that and made the women's commission part of all the commissions. So women's issues weren't women's issues, there were FISA issues, there were world rowing issues. So now we're at a place where we have more than 50% in the executive board are women. The council is about almost 50%, and we have equal number of events in all the events, the juniors, the under 23s, Youth Olympics, Olympics. And it wasn't that many years ago that people would look at you cross-eyed when you talk about that. It wouldn't be fair, there's more men rowing in the world. Well, not really, not in all the countries. So I'm really proud of that. We've gotten that, but coaching is a tough nut to crack. And I thought about, okay, let's look at the sports where women are the majority. So what's bringing women to that sport versus others? And so it's something that we definitely still have to work on. But I'm proud of the progress we've made in sport and in the administration. And now I think we just passed that rule in FISA, where if you bring more than one delegate to the Congress, you have to have both sexes. So that should help us with our Congress as well, because we're looking out at Congress. Yeah, we were looking out at Congress and seeing, there weren't 50% women there for sure. So I think that'll help. So rowing's taking some proactive steps, and the IOC is too. The IOC really helped sort of push that along with the 2020 vision that Thomas Bach put in place. It just pushed that leadership from the top, and the resources and the programs pushing women in leadership and women on the programs. It really helped, I think, all sports. One of the things I was wondering in terms of,
as you look at what you've achieved, in your career, that, what you're particularly proud of, that you kind of look and say, well, that particular initiative, I'm so proud to have been involved, or that stands as a particular legacy of something that I've done. I mean, what sense, two or three of the things that you've been involved in, do you have of that?
Well, if I could take one just individually, and then one with rowing, and then one with maybe the Canadian Olympic Committee. Well, just individually, I was just really proud of how we did, how we were able to succeed on our own. We really had to make things happen. We didn't have a coach in Canada. Okay, what are you going to do? Write a letter and get to where the coach is, and get on the bus with the Italians if you don't have transportation. And if you arrive at the train station in Lucerne with your oar, or I guess we'll just walk to the course with them and get them there. You made it happen. I was really proud of the way we were able to get on the podium year after year, and a lot of it really, even the organization around it, came from our own gumption. And so I was proud of that. I was proud of our team that way. In terms of the rowing, just what I described, I think getting to the point where women are equal in terms of the events, there's no question. There's just no question. Of course they should be. And it just, when that decision was finally made, it's just like, finally, and that's just right. And nobody's going, oh, that's outrageous. Why is it? Everyone knew it was the right thing to do. And so I'm really proud of that. I believe I played a big role in that, in pushing that agenda, and, forming alliances with the men before there were a lot of women. And, so it got to the point where at the council meetings, they didn't just all look at me, if we were talking about a women's issue. Okay, well, what do we think about this, Tricia? Well, I don't know. What do we think, guys? And so I'm really, really proud of that with FISA. I'm just proud of the organization, as I told you before, in terms of the integrity and the athlete-centeredness. In terms of the Olympic Committee, I don't know if you know, but I took over as president of the Canadian Olympic Committee after a president that had to resign due to allegations of harassment and bullying, sexual harassment and bullying. So I came into an organization in crisis, and we did a full investigation. Over 100 people spoke to the investigators and described incidents of harassment and abuse. And we got the report, published the report, acted on all of the recommendations, did a full governance review, changed the way we did business, changed the culture of our organization. And so the last few years, we've been named one of Canada's top places to work. We have a great relationship with our athletes, 2 athletes on our council, on our board rather. We have great relationships with our sponsors. We try to support our athletes as people. It's not just about performance. Of course, performance is important. Athletes are all there to perform, but thinking about what they're going to do during their sport and after their sport, their careers. And so I'm very proud of that too, changing the culture of our organization. So those are some of the things I'm particularly proud of.
That's massive, isn't it? To be able to successfully change a culture of a whole organisation is one of the biggest jobs that you can ever do.
Yeah, and of course I didn't do it alone. We had great people who care about sport, who care about our athletes, we were really fortunate to have had a team that made that happen. And so it was pretty exciting. Like you, Martin, I just believe in sport, and I see what it does for kids. You see the confidence, and you in your teaching, you would have seen that in your coaching, and you see what it does for a community, and what for new Canadians, in Canada, you see that it opens doors for them, and just brings us all together as a country. And then I've seen what it does, because we've all done it. We've all competed internationally, and you see the connections. I remember being in the cafeteria and these guys at the Olympic Village, and some guys just freaking out because of, what is that? Is that pork? Is that pork? I said, no, it's chicken, and then you're friends for life. And it's, or playing hockey and, street hockey in the Athletes Village, or getting on the bus with the Italians and singing, who knows what we were singing on the way to Regatta, on the way to Regatta. It's a wonderful part of being human, right? It's something we do from the time we're kids. It's what brings us together, that humanity of it. And that's why I volunteer in it. It's a volunteer job. All of these things, as you know, you did it too. We're all volunteers. It's because we believe in it.
So I know one of the very strong things that comes across from listening to you is that you are an optimist. And after this, dreadful year that we've had and people are still experiencing, you've got quite a lot of optimism about the future, even this year too.
I do. I think there's an old First Nations story about this struggle that's in every human, the good and the bad wolf, inside you. And the story goes that this elder was telling these kids a story, and And the kids say, and you have that in you? And yeah, I have that in me. And they said, well, who's winning? And he said, well, it's the one you feed, you know, the wolf you feed. And so I believe that. I think, you know, we can bring energy to something, we can bring positivity in something, and it's sort of, it's self-fulfilling, and we'll get through this. We'll get through this. We've gotten through many tough things in the past, and we'll get through it together. And we'll look back and think, wow, how did we do that? But we will.
That's such a great thing. I just, you know, we've been talking for almost over an hour now, Tricia. It's been great.
Wow.
I just, one thing that occurred to me, do you have a little space at home where all those medals that you won as an international oarswoman are on display?
No, I don't. We have, I'm not a thing person. I hate things. I mean, obviously, I love that I have the medals. We have a sport. It's a BC Sports Hall of Fame, and so all the stuff that I get, all these wonderful things. Like I was the mayor of the Athletes Village in Vancouver 2010, and you know, when they greet each team, they give the mayor a gift, and you give them a gift, and so we ended up all these gifts. And what do we do with all this stuff? So I give all these things to the BC Sports Hall of Fame, and they're so fantastic, and they display it when they want to, or put it away when they want to, and I can go and look at it when I want. And so that's where I try and deposit all of these wonderful treasures. Share them with others.
Magic. Tricia, it's been a privilege to spend this time talking with you, and you know, I know you're so busy, and thank you so much for making time for us this morning over there on the Pacific.
Yeah, well, the sun's up now, so yeah, I'll have to get my work done so I can go for a bike ride. Wow. I hope you're doing well, Martin. I hope you're doing well. You look great. Yeah. Thank
you. That's really nice of you to say so. So we'll end the live part of this interview now, Trish. Bye now.
Okay. Bye.